Hello, everyone. Welcome you to all to our weekly Neurodivergent Business Consortium's live. I'm Dr. Shah Siddiqui, as usual, your host, and you know that this is our weekly program, and we're going to be discussing something really exciting today. And I have a special guest. You already know her, uh, but as I said, she's very special, working with neurodivergent population for so many years, experienced, and as well as a neurodivergent. So we're going to be introducing her in a few minutes. So to all the audience, um, please, if you want to ask us any question, please feel free to ask us through the comment box. And today we are not scripted, so we're going to be talking through specifically the MARSTA framework. So we have Heather, so I'm going to be adding her to the stage. So Heather, thank you very much for again for your contribution to the NVC people. I heard many people there talking, okay, I could not attend, but the recording is great. So I'm going to be, they are going through with the recording. So anything we produce, they are liking it. And if they have any question, they ask me after the lives or anytime during the week. So that's very good. So Heather, to our audience, if you don't know about Heather, Heather is a coach. And I would request Heather, if you could introduce yourself to the audience, please.
Thank you so much, Shah. So I quite literally have many hats. I'm not at home at the moment, so I don't have my hat collection behind me. But my main business is MARSTA Goals. It's a framework that I've created. When I work individually with entrepreneurs, my banner is Effective Entrepreneurs, and it really is that the name, it says it all, really is about how we can, what tools, etc., can we use to be more effective as entrepreneurs? Because it is a very busy, complex, demanding world we live in. We have busy, complex minds, and running a business generally on your own is busy and complex. And it's like, how can we be the most effective that we can be, and do the stuff we love? Because I think it's so easy to get wrapped up in all the stuff. And the MARSTA Goals framework, we're now moving into teaching other people how to use it in organizations. And I'm actually going into organizations myself, because we've realized how powerful it is when you have teams, we're made up, there is a diversity within every team, whether it's diversity of every type, and how can we most effectively bring all those energies into making decisions as to how we progress in our businesses and go for our goals, etc. So that's a bit of a random introduction to me, but it is about simplifying and making life more effective by using a framework that takes account of diversity in all its forms.
I totally agree with you, Heather. As you know that we've been talking, I think so many years now, I'm engaged with the Portsmouth University, and as well as I understand your work and the the way you transport people's lives, it's different than as usual. So I have seen many neurodivergent individuals, many neurodivergent coaches, but you are a little bit different than others. So that's a plus point. That's positive things that I would say, because when we see neurodivergent people, I was talking to someone. We have formed ND Business Club, and we are working together. And Anna Bramington from the Ferrum Innovation Center, she's the director over there, and we have started that. And we are talking about it. Yes, neurodivergent people, yes, we are different. But when you work together, you need to value each other work or each other. Otherwise, the work, or otherwise the collaboration, or a lot of different things can be muddled at the end. Because if you don't value each other, if you start a great work, they won't go beyond your limits. And that's the way forward, I would say, valuing each other. And I have seen you're working differently, regardlessly So we're going to be talking about the MARSTA framework, and I will also add some of the value of my framework that we call Zen Z 12 core formula. But why I name it Zen Z? Because it is a business development and social selling and marketing all together. It's a little bit different than use. But as we spoke earlier, that okay, we need to come up with a solution that okay, someone is having your framework can try this one, or vice versa. Like okay, how they can improve their personal growth as well as implement this to a business growth. Because neurodivergent people, most of them are entrepreneur or business people, and they wanted to change the world. And they wanted to change the world. I don't know how far we can go, but as I said, we have to do it. So firstly, when as we're going to be working with MARSTA framework, MASTER, isn't it?
MARSTA.
MARSTA, MARSTA framework. So can you say why MARSTA framework? And you say one word you use most of the time, sucks.
So my starting point is that SMART goals suck because
Yes.
they are totally unadaptable, and they don't take account of anything to do with us and our circumstances and our business and the world. So they, for me, for that reason alone, they are completely, they were designed by somebody who worked in industry in America 40 years ago. And whilst it might have been a useful framework at that point, and I totally get, if somebody is very focused, you give them a task, they get on and they do it, say achieve this by then, they will, because that's how they work. But most of us are not like that. So I'm really keen that sorry, got a couple of dogs. I hope you can't hear them.
I don't
fighting each other in the background. So what I'm really keen to do, and how MARSTA kind of came about, was kind of going, okay, given that is so ineffective for just about everybody I know, and I'd started to talk differently about goals and adding other dimensions and the actions that we have to take, and oh, by the way, the reality of my life is this. So how can I bring that into a framework? And it therefore makes it a much more, it's a more complex framework, obviously, because that very simple thing, I kind of go, the very simple SMART type framework will give you a shed. My framework will give you a castle. It's about collaboration. It's about understanding everybody's strengths. It's about understanding how we all work differently and have different skills. And even if it's just us, we can kind of realize how we can use our skills and strengths to the best of our ability and to get us to where we need to be. And if we need to bring in other people or ask for support, we kind of realize where we need to do that. And I think that's why it's much more dynamic. And if you kind of expand the word to sort of diversity generally, so there are people who will be neurodivergent, for example, within a team, but there is plenty of other diversity as well. So it's diversity in how we think, how we behave, where we come from, our history, our lives, everything. Just use the word diverse. We are all, as humans, every single one of us is completely different. And if you can have a framework that is robust enough and sort of agile and innovative enough, where you can really bring as many of those diverse ways of being and doing, if you can bring those together in a way that makes sense, it doesn't all end up looking like some mad trifle. It's actually, layered and looks beautiful, and it does what you want it to do because you've taken account of that, of each person's diversity as much as you possibly can in a group setting.
Thank you, Heather. So we're going to be talking more of your MARSTA framework, and we're going to be talking in detail what is it about and how people can get benefited from the framework and so on. Before I jump into that, I just wanted to request our audiences, if you wanted to ask us any question, feel free to ask us through the comment box. We're going to be discussing today the MARSTA framework and how it can support neurodivergent individuals for your growth. And I will compare some of my framework today as well. And maybe end of the session webinar, you will learn something, and this significant knowledge will lead you to guide you through. So last time when we were talking, Heather, that we said that yes, the SMART framework and the framework we're working, it is derived from the original theme to a theme that is changeable, that is adaptable, and that is, that will evolve with time. Can you can you tell the audience a bit more about the adaptable thing, like why it has to be adaptable and why it needs to be changed with time?
Yeah. So as I say, so that original idea, the original sort of SMART acronym, was very much, it was literally, it's where do I want to be, by when, is it realistic, and that's kind of it. Can I do it? And off you go. And it was very much an outcome, a future-based outcome for somebody to aim at. Mm-hmm. Which, as I say, in and of itself, that's absolutely fine. But in terms of when you've got a number of different people who, like literally right from the time that you set that, it's like looking at it kind of going, well, that's a big future outcome. There's a whole bunch of things that will deliver that. So then those are actually the goals that you should be looking at, not this huge, big future outcome. There are a lot of people for whom, I need to focus on what's happening right now, here, today. Mm-hmm. Because that's the way I function best, is mm-hmm. if I'm looking, because people, if you kind of go, well, I need to be over there in 3 months' time, for so many people that can just be completely overwhelming, and then nothing gets done. Mm-hmm. And you just kind of go, so therefore as a methodology, it doesn't have anything built into it, sort of baked into the ideas and the way it works, that kind of goes, okay, well, let's adapt that. How can we adapt that? So that adaptability, so to adapt to how I work. So even if you and I had exactly the same goals, we will get there completely differently. Mm-hmm. So the pathway that we take, the milestones that we set, the metrics, the metrics might be similar, but how we measure them, for mm-hmm. me, it might make more sense, because my brain might be wired in a more sort of creative way. Yours might be more wired in a more numeric way. So mm-hmm. how can we adapt that to suit our individual ways of working? But what it does is it keeps us each inspired along the way, so that we will both then achieve the goal, but we've got there taking account of how we work differently, how we think differently. And for me, that adaptability, that's just looking at us as individuals in that moment, but also then what's going on in the big wide world and all the other things we need to take account of. So one of the R's, when you're going through the MARSTA acronym, because you actually go through it 4 times, would kind of go, that seems crazy. But, one of the things is, what is the reality of your life and the things that will get in the way of you achieving this? And again, if you understand those things, so it's kind of like going in sort of forearmed and forewarned as to what might happen. And so you can prepare yourself, and again, understand yourself and perhaps part of your neurodivergence. You kind of go, well, these things might happen. What if those things happen, what do I need to do? Will I need to have a contact plan to get in touch with somebody else to help out? Will I need to have X, Y, and Z? And mm-hmm. the more we can be prepared, the better.
Mm-hmm. I understand. So
as a sort of one, as just one example of how that mm-hmm. adaptability is so important. It's adapting to us as individuals.
I totally agree with you, because as a neurodivergent individuals, and some people, they might have mental health problems. Some people, they might have a strength in one thing and a weakness on the other thing. But when you have a versatile framework, they can address those things differently for different people, and that is adaptable, and as well as it can support anyone in specific in time society, culture, geographic location. A lot of individual things when we work, they play a vital roles because I am from Southeast Asia, Bangladesh, and when I came here, it was a huge shock for me. Yes, the shock was positive, not negative, but shock was like that. Okay, the culture was different, the language was different, the way we knew English wasn't English here, because people was saying me bar, and when they are saying bar, now I know what is bar, what is war. But that time when I came here, and luckily I was working on what is called people do catering services. So
Mhm.
I was working first. My job was catering services, and when the manager asked me to, can you bring me wawa, and I said, okay, what should I bring? What he's saying? Is it so that culture shocks and the change gave me uh, different type of things. So when I was developing my career here and working with individuals, I was thinking, okay, something has to change in relation when you engineering or do engineering projects, when you do business development projects, and when you do other things. And another thing, I also look into it. uh, I did not know that I was neurodivergent. uh, and in my country, in Bangladesh, still parents, they don't care about neurodivergence, because it doesn't matter who you are and what is your mental or physical conditions. You have to gain this. You have to be engineer, doctor, or something like that. They can feel proud of you.
Mhm.
Uh, and that's why when we talk about neurodiversity, neuroplasticity, it's cultural that our neuroplasticity is greater than a person born brought up here, because they have greater things to think about and greater choices to make. But when the choice is limited, you stuck there. So I will ask you the next questions, because the master framework, how many elements are there on the master framework? And if you can name them, and we will discuss one after another.
Yeah, so I won't name them all because it's easier just to go there. There's three steps which make it
Mhm.
easier. So the first stage is initiation. So that is about creating the goal. So it's about understanding yourself.
Mhm.
It's about understanding where it is that you want to be. So what is the large outcome and the why around that?
Mhm.
And just looking at the sort of the reality of your day-to-day life. So that's kind of
Mhm.
setting the scene. It's that who you are and where it is that you're trying to go with this particular goal.
Mhm.
And the great thing is, again, in that adaptability, you can do this for your big life plan, or you
Mhm.
can do it for one small thing,
Mhm.
which is great. So that's the initiate phase. Then the next phase, and within that you actually stipulate what the goal is, and
Mhm.
again, and you run. So in each phase you run through the master acronym. So you don't do it once to kind of set the scene, and then you also use it to actually pinpoint exactly what the goal is.
Mhm.
Then the next phase is the implementation, because of course, again, this is one of the things where smart falls down completely. There is nothing about what you need to do to get there to actually achieve it. So you're now looking at the activities, the strategy, the milestones, how you're going to actually get on with it, what needs to be done in order to achieve this particular goal.
Mhm.
And then the last phase is the integrate phase, because of course you will have, if you're really super focused on something, you're creating new habits, you're doing particular actions each day or each week, depending on what needs doing. But of course, life is complex, and we're never working on just one goal. So there'll be loads that we're working on. So the integrate phase is just as important, because it's kind of going, right, what are these positive, good behaviors that I am practicing each day that are keeping me moving towards that? What am I doing? How do I keep those as part of my active working life? How do I
Mhm.
keep doing those good habits? I don't really like the word bad habits, but how do we keep going with the good habits, the habits and the actions that are taking us towards where we want to be? Because there's other things that we need to be working on. And it's very easy that when the next project comes along, or the next goal, or the next thing that we need to be focusing on, suddenly it's a new thing, and we kind of go, oh, I need to be focusing over there. And it's very easy to forget all those good actions and activities that we were doing. So it's how do you integrate those into your busy life, in the face of having a lot of other things to do as well. So those three things are really, it's like setting the right goal and knowing yourself. What do I need to do to be able to get there? And how can I make that activity part of everyday life so that I can keep moving forwards and I can not overwhelm myself? Because of course it's very, very easy to kind of think, oh my God, I'm just layering more and more and more and more and more stuff on top of myself, in order to get, to keep going with this goal stuff. And you're kind of going, it would be very easy to overwhelm yourself. So it's like making sure that you are looking after yourself. Self-care is one of the S's as you go through it, is self-care. How do you make sure that you're allocating your resources well to make sure that you are doing what you need to do? Because you could reach that point, you could be delegating, you could be getting other people to do it, you could be automating. So it's like, how can I keep moving forwards and not letting stuff just fall through the cracks because there's other stuff to do, but don't overwhelm yourself.
Yeah, because as working with neurodivergent individuals, being a mentor, and mentoring individual neurodivergent businesses, what I have experienced is specifically a person, they wanted to grow their business, but they have 10 individual things on their mindsets. So when you have 10 individual things in the mindsets, you cannot master in 10 things at the same time. And that's the problem, that most of the things that I stream, I helped the individual businesses or individual person that, okay, if you wanted to get out there, you have to be very specific, because I learned from my mistakes that when you have 10 things, that 10 things, they will not get same priority, are they? So it's better to, when you prioritize things, maybe you can have 3 things at the same time, but prioritizing the 3 things, the first thing is the first priority, second and third. So you cannot have more than 3 priorities at the same time. And when you prioritize them, yeah, sometimes you can change the priority, because with time, with decision making, and with situation, maybe the third thing can be first. Or maybe the third thing, you wanted to make it, okay, that is out of my basket for some times, just hiding it and get another thing over there. So that's the way I found it very easier to grow and very easier to succeed. But otherwise, it's very tough. It's very tough. So in terms of adding priorities, can you tell me a bit more how your framework can support individuals to the neurodivergent, because we are everywhere?
So it's actually once I start working with someone, or if we're in we were in a group, and I was actually in a group on Sunday, and we were literally just doing a goal reset, a kind of like halfway through the year goal reset. And we did a really interesting exercise, which is like, okay, so as well as the MARSTA framework, I also just have a little entrepreneurial ecosystem, which looks at the 7 pillars of my 7 pillars of entrepreneurship. So that's looking at personal, who you are, your purpose, your productivity methods, your planning, your processes, your product, and your promotion. And we literally just wrote all of those onto Post-it note, and then just did a little XY axis, and said each of those things. So it's quite easy. Your product, do you feel confident that you've got the right product? You know what it looks like, you know what you're selling, you know its features and benefits, and all of those things that we can ask about our product, but just framed into one word, and kind of go, okay, if so, from where we are at the moment in terms of our product, as an example, and then the y-axis was impact and superficial. So if in knowing that our product is absolutely awesomely good, so that's really in the help, and it's helping us drive our business forward, and it has if we know exactly what we sell and what it looks like and everything else, that has a big impact on us. So that goes up there. And we were trying to work out where each of those 7 things fitted into that, just that simple XY axis. And it's then you can kind of go, well, actually, the fact that I don't know what my promotion thing is like, because that's over here, it's down here somewhere. You kind of go, well, unless you've got a whole bunch of other things sorted, you can't really get out and do the marketing. People kind of go, oh, I've got to be on social media, but like, yeah, but so you don't know those other things yet. So it was just a way of sorting the priorities in terms of which of the goals we must go for. We need to be going for the one that will have the greatest impact right now. It'll help drive the business and move us towards our goals the most, and it will have the greatest impact. And it's kind of like, it just helped people sort of all identify where they should be focusing right now. Because somebody's saying, oh, my website doesn't look great. And then when we kind of looked at it, it was like, actually, no, there was some other things. And it was actually the realization that there was some stuff going on, for her personally. That actually, that was the thing that she just needed to take a step back and sort through that first. And then we can come back to the website, because she was sitting there going, and my website, and it's just like, no, that's fine. Just it's okay, sort that, and then that will clear the energy. It'll give you brain space. It'll give you focus to then kind of go, okay, now which is the next one. So I think working out the area in your business where you need to focus is actually really interesting, because you then you can work out what the goals are within that, but what's the general area that needs the focus right now, because as you say, we can't work on everything all the time. No one can. It's not possible.
I totally agree with you, Heather, because when I developed my framework, the first thing was the 4 Ps, because if you don't understand the 4 P, there is nothing you can do, because you need to understand 4P. And to our viewers, if you wanted to understand 4P, Heather is there and I'm there. We can have you a one-to-one session. So you have to understand the 4P before you accept or before you go through any framework, if you are a business person. But if you are doing your personal development, personal growth, then it's different, because 4P will be less valuable for you. But we just having our first message, Muhammad Mahbub Alam, and he said, thank you, Mahbub, for your question. Can you talk us through a real-time example of setting a MARSTA goal for business scenario?
That's a big question. Okay, so I'll take you through briefly without going through all the steps, because it does take quite a while. So I'll just use myself as an example, because there was something that I wanted to do, and I can tell you easily, and I'm not divulging anybody else's challenges. So this was for me, and I wanted to write a book. And I needed to get the ideas out of my head and down on paper. And so literally going through, so it was like, right, so that initiate phase, it's looking at the motivation. Why do I want to do that? It's looking at my strengths, so understanding my innate talents. So I'm a communicator. I'm a bit, I hate the word influencer, but I am somebody that has influencing talents, because I can communicate well. I'm not somebody who dots I's and crosses T's. That's not my thing. So when I looked at the productivity thing, I'm like, I need an absolute imposed deadline. Otherwise, this will go on for 5 years.
Yes.
And I set myself the most ridiculous deadline of a week.
Okay.
I was going to write a book in a week. And I knew, I know that the squirrels in my head, if I told them that that's what they were going to do, they would behave themselves and I would kind of crack on with it. My motivation was to get and this is when I first took all the ideas behind MARSTA and I got them out my head and I kind of wrote them down. And then I got specific and I went, how many words, how am I going to do it? So the actions that were required. I looked, the reality of my life in that particular time. At that particular time, I had a week where I was going to be away somewhere else. And I thought, okay, I can in fact clear, other than a few things, I can clear my diary. So I looked at my space in that moment. The reality was there. I could tweak a few things. So I knew, and then I was like, how am I going to do this? Right, iPad, ding, type. Yeah, I'm going to type it. Yeah, again, because I could have done it as voice notes. I could have done it any number of ways.
Sorry, it's my mobile.
That's right.
Yes.
So then I literally sat there, and when I sort of did that, and I kind of looked, and I kind of go, right, I know what I want to achieve. I know the reality of my space right now. I know why I want to do it. So, if I'd woken up on a morning kind of going, yeah, I don't want to do this. But literally, I had actually embraced that energy of, I am a writer. And I literally went into it. So I reframed my own mind to an extent in terms of, I'm a writer. A writer will get up and just do that big pot of coffee, as I normally do every morning. And I sat down. So I was, for that fixed period of time, I was a writer. That was my energy. I knew what I wanted to do. And the energy around it was absolutely fantastic. And for someone who, I time block. So I use the Pomodoro technique. I literally generally only work 40 minutes at a time. And I have a 5-minute break. And if I don't do that, I don't get anything done. That week, I was so focused. I don't think I've produced that much. I wrote a 12,500 word book in 5.5 days. Because I just, everything, I'd literally, each one of those boxes, I went in, I knew the measurement, and it was phenomenal. And then I've gone on and done it for something completely different. Just to get, I was at a conference, and every single person at this conference was a white man of a certain age.
Okay.
And the company who was putting on the conference was all about, encouraging diversity amongst its people who were involved with the business and its clients. And I'm going like, so where's the diversity on the stage? I'm like, oh my God. And that afternoon, I was sitting in a little coffee shop, and there was a power cut. So there was no internet. The lights were a bit dim. And I thought, okay. And I had my notebook, and I sat and I drew out a master goal to be a speaker at their next conference. So that was the outcome that I was going for. So I want to be on that stage at their next conference. So that'll be December 2024. So we're not there yet. And so, okay, in order to, and then I kind of worked it backwards. I'm like, okay, that's the outcome I was going for. So the first thing was to go, what's the actual goal? And the actual goal was that within the organization, I have to have achieved certain results. And I have to have been on smaller stages with the organization for somebody to have taken notice of me, and for them to have also heard the message of, you need to have some women and some younger people and some people of color and all the rest of it up on that stage. So there were a few goals kind of embedded in that. So then that was started to be my motivation. And I literally built up very, very quickly. So as I say, I wasn't then chasing the outcome of, I want to be on that stage. Yes, that was my nice kind of, that sort of vision of what I was going to achieve. But actually, the goals that I set myself was that I have to achieve, I need to be a speaker on their small stages. How am I going to do that? I need to achieve certain results within the organization. How am I going to do that? And I set those goals, literally sat down 10 minutes, wrote them out, and I'm on my way. So I'm not there yet because I've still got another 6 months to go.
Thank you.
It brings a real energy because you're bringing yourself, you're bringing all of you to that goal. You're not just going, oh, I'm going to turn over, 20 grand a week by the end of the year. It has no energy. It has no joy. It has no understanding. And even if that's what I want to do, it's like, no, I need to create something that's going to truly inspire me and truly understand me. And I will surpass that number. I'll go way past it because it's inspiring me on a daily basis.
I have to take it with you, Heather. So Mahbub, I think you have got your answer. So to our viewers, if you wanted to ask us any question, please feel free to ask us through the comment box. And today we have Heather Berry, I would say it's just blank,
The creator of the MARSTA Goals Framework.
Yes, the creator of the MARSTA Goal Framework. So I have problems. Sometimes it just suddenly gone black and I don't know what to talk about, but still I'm a public speaker. I don't worry about that. I don't care about anything because when you, as you said, the way you describe that, you have to be very, very targeted. The way you written you 12,000 words of book in 1 week, I would do the same. Sometimes what I do, I prioritize my work, and also I have to have a end date, because without end date, I think no one can succeed anything. Because if you wanted to succeed, you have to have a start date, end date. It well through review process that okay, the way you are thinking, are they are going right way. So as I am an academic, I work with students, I work with projects. So what I do, I create the table of contents first. Like, okay, what you wanted to do. So do you have a framework to do? Because if you're thinking, okay, I will write it down, my assignments, or I will write it down, my work, or I will do my work, but unless you have a frame, how do you know that you can finish in 1 week? Because you might be here and there, here and there, here and there. So the way I work is, today I was talking to Anna at the same thing, that I'm very much organized. Some people, they dislike it, but that's the way I am. So if I'm doing something, I have to organize things like, okay, where the boss gonna go, where all the folders will have, and what's the number the folders will have, and what I will write down individual folders for, and where the picture will go, where this will go, where that will go. When I have everything written and prepared, then it's boom, because I know what I can do. So I will just streamline, okay, everything from my, I think a lot of things at the same time. So everything will be switched off. I just concentrate one thing, and that will give me the success.
Yeah.
So, yeah, carry on.
No, I was just going to say, it's so easy as someone who, there's that part of me. It's like, I know that there's all these tools and various things that you can use to make you, or to help you be more organized, to have all your ideas and thoughts in one place, and this, that, and the other. And I've tried most of them, and I've abandoned most of them because it just doesn't, my brain just doesn't like it. My brain needs this pieces of paper. And I am one of the, apparently there's a word for it, people who collect notebooks. I am that word. But I do have a notebook for certain different things. And I will always be like that. I have a paper diary, and yes, I've got some, I've got my tech, I've got my iPad and all the rest of it, and I can write there and do that. But in terms of organizing myself and putting things in, because I'm not a detail orientated person, I'm much more big picture. That's why if I can write it down, I can put it in and I can organize my thoughts in that way. But if it's up to a piece of tech, it just doesn't happen. But yet there are other people who kind of go, oh, Emotion or Monday or whatever. Oh, it's brilliant. It's changed my life. And I'm like, I wish it would change mine, but it hasn't.
As I said,
I tried.
We are more than 9 billion people, isn't it, in the world? And each individual is different. Their characteristics different. Maybe they have some common characteristics, but mostly they are different. So if I compare my one with yours, it will never get sorted, because you're different, I'm different. If you ask me to write something, I will go away from there because I don't like writing. And when I write, I even can't read what I have written. Okay, so I hate writing. But if you give me a computer, that's all I need.
Yeah.
Organization, computer, and a lot of details and a lot of things. So that's why when we talk about a framework, that framework has to be different. I have seen many people, they like writing, they like pads, and they like things. My wife, she likes writing, but I don't. And so there is the difference. So there's the thing that, okay, you need versatile things to adapt. You need versatile things to talk about, and you also need to understand if you wanted to write. If I ask you, okay, leave writing and start digitizing, that will not work. Because yes, you need someone, they are good at digitizing, they can take you things and they can do it. But if they ask you, okay, forget about writing, you will lose everything, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So the inner self is very important.
Yeah, and I think that it's just like you have your framework, which, as I say, is more around sort of business development. Mine kind of is business development meets personal development, and it's just like there's never just one framework that we use. And I think that if we can bring these things together, just what we've just been saying is what's the thing that works best for me. So even if somebody takes on the MARSTA framework and says, oh, this is absolutely brilliant, but actually the bit of it that I really like is that bit, because that works for me. Well, that's great. I don't mind. I'm not the person to judge that. But if you find that in knowing that little bit about, so just the little bit that sets the goal itself, if that's the only bit that you use, fantastic. It's take the bits that we need to help us. Excuse me. And then you can also put frameworks together. So your framework and my framework is like, well, actually, if I take yours and I layer in that little bit of the goal setting stuff and the goal achievement stuff, well, I've then got this fantastic chance of getting to where I want to be. That's why I've added my other framework in at the beginning to help people identify where they need to be focused. Because otherwise your framework would end up being, 1 million pages long.
I understand.
Trying to do everything. It's like, no, I don't want, this is my focus, but what can we bolt on there? What can we bolt on there to get the one that works best for us?
I totally agree with you, because yes, I'm concentrated on business developments and personal growth after a certain levels. If you don't have personal growth, you cannot be a business leader, because I understand that, you understand that. We have been through a lot of stages, struggles, failures, success, a lot of individual things we've been through. And then we come up with a framework. And this framework is not like that. This is a thing that you cannot change. As you said, whenever I talk to you about your framework, you say the same thing that I also express the same. Because when I talk to someone that I said, okay, this is the framework that is I built when I was working with individual people. But every person is different. Maybe I didn't meet you when I written that. So I have to change my framework based on your characteristics, because unless it will not work. because I haven't seen you before, I haven't met you before, I haven't worked with you before. And Heather, can you tell our audiences a bit more about why it is important that, okay, we value the person we're working with. We don't value our framework that much. Yes, we will value our framework in a way that can transform people's life, but not like I have seen people, okay, this is my framework and you have to work on that boundaries. If you don't work on that boundaries, you're out.
Yeah, and I think almost the point I made just now about, you know, how we organize our day.
Mhm.
I like a paper diary. Some people like Monday, some people like Motion, some people like Google Calendar, some people like things. At the end of the day, they all do the same thing. They all kind of go, this is what I'm going to do this week. And they're all different, and they focus for us individually. So my friend, and I think this is one of the things as entrepreneurs, you know, sometimes people go, oh, well, they didn't want to buy my product, they didn't like my thing, they didn't like me. And so it's like, you kind of have to let that go, because it's just not personal. It's just like, that didn't work for them, or to now is not the right time, or the pricing doesn't fit what they've got in their bank, or the outcome that you promise is kind of not quite what they want. And you can't bend and stretch and change everything to suit each individual. You have to kind of go in, this is my framework, I believe in this framework. Yes, it's incredibly adaptable, but even so, it might not be for you because you like a different framework, or you don't like setting goals. You just sort of think, no, they're completely rubbish. And it doesn't, and I have to just kind of go, that's fine. Is I, you know, my little mantra when I do networking is, I stand there and I kind of go, smart goals suck. Half the room think I'm a genius because they agree with me. The other half of the room think I'm an idiot because they don't agree with me. And that's fine. But suddenly I'm speaking to half the room who think the same as I do. Then I can take them through it. And then some, you know, and then like half the room will probably divide again. Where some going to go, oh, that's too complicated, I don't want to get into that. And the other thing, oh, that's brilliant, because the complexity means that can take account of that. So suddenly I'm then down to that many. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with the 75% of the people who've kind of gone, either you're an idiot or I actually kind of quite like, and that's fine, because then what you end up doing is you end up speaking to the people who love you, love your energy, love what you do, love what your product does, etc., and you end up working with the right people. If you constantly try and switch and change just because one person, you know, wants that, and I've got to change my framework, I said, no, have confidence in that thing you've done and you've delivered, and yes, build in some adaptability. Mine is adaptable, yours is adaptable, of course it is. You know, a framework is a framework. You know, nothing is set in stone except the shape of the framework. But what we do with each step of the framework, well, that's open to interpretation. If you said to somebody, make a cheese sandwich, you kind of go, okay, how difficult is it? Two slices of bread and some cheese, you know? Yeah. Well, if you had 1,000 people make you a cheese sandwich, you'll have 1,000 different cheese sandwiches. Okay. Because how we do the recipe is the framework.
Yeah.
2 pieces of bread, some cheese. Yeah. Every single one will be different. And it will be that person's interpretation of the perfect cheese sandwich, or their favorite perfect cheese sandwich, or the cheese sandwich their great granny used to love, because that's their interpretation and use of the framework. And you have to kind of let your framework out into the world, that people can use it in a way that works best for them.
I totally agree with you, Heather, because you know, as an academic, we talk about ethical things. So we are nearly end of our sessions. We just got 10 minutes. You see, time passed like this.
I know.
And when time always flies. So what I'm thinking, when you were talking, that we might have a 2 hours live. In that 2 hours live, we will have some maybe business people, or maybe people they wanted to engage with your framework and my framework together. So what we wanted to do in the 2 hours, we can combine both of them and ask individual, maybe we will have 3 individual research participants,
a live case study.
Yes. So research participants to work with us 2 hours and then judges. Okay, I think, if we have 3 people, 3 people's their opinion going to be different. Anyway, some people they might like this, some people they might like those, and if we can produce something like that way, I think it will help our audiences and it will help other people as well. So we're going to be talking to you about that after this program when you finish it. But as an academic, we talk about ethical thing. Some people they will follow our framework, but they will not give us credits. And you always say that smart framework sucks, but you are referencing a smart framework that, okay, you have seen that, and why they are sucks because you don't like them, but you have adapted something from there and change it, and that's why you are showing that, okay, it sucks, but my one is better. So there's the way to recognize anything. So if I'm adapting your framework, some of it I have to recognize it. I have to recognize your hard work. I have to recognize your creativity. I have to recognize your a lot of individual things comes up. If someone utilizing your framework or utilizing some other people's framework, what would be the best thing in relation of ethical guidance?
So yes, so one of the things, I mean, yes, I do say smart goals suck, but I always acknowledge the fact that they worked at the time and that they do still work for some people. Just for me and the people I work with, they don't work, and that's fine. So I'm not chucking them out completely. I just, I've come up with something completely new and different. And I think that, both of us, when we're working with other people, you'll kind of go, so I've been listening to James Clear, Atomic Habits. He's got some brilliant ideas. They're his ideas and they're his things. And I'll kind of, and then it's always about acknowledging other people. A lot of the things, there's not a brilliant new idea. Not everything is a completely brilliant new idea. We've had some thoughts and influences and all the rest from all of, our whole lives that have brought us to this moment that has given your framework and my framework. I've picked up stuff along the way. I can't remember every single thing that I learned from every single person, but, we will generally acknowledge, where you've learned things from. And I think absolutely we have to do that. It is the ethical way to be. I'm creating an accreditation so that people can learn how to use the MARSTA framework in their organizations. If you want to be able to train your team and actually make this part of a cultural shift in your organization to really embody, because for me, one of the really exciting things is in pinning it around goal achievement and strategy and all of that. If you use MARSTA to bring it into an organization, it sort of, in a really nice, subtle way, it brings in acknowledging how different people are. It brings in better communication because people have to talk to each other to create that combined goal. So what it does is it almost creates a complete culture change, but in a really nice, kind, collaborative way. So I want people to be able to kind of go, we've brought this in. We love the MARSTA Goals Framework. I've trademarked it. I trademarked the name and the thing because it was my idea, and I'm not doing that because I want to be paid every time it says its name. It's because I want this, for me, this is my legacy. I don't have children. This is my child. That's what I'm giving to the world. And I think we have, it's like we would acknowledge, something, Nike were the first people to do such and such a shoe. People will talk about it, and I think that that's just the way we should be as humans, and it's acknowledging other people's genius and contributions to the world.
Thank you, Heather. So to our audience, we are nearly end of our stations. I hope you have enjoyed our session so far. And as I said, we're going to be bringing a 2-hour session, including master and Zen Z12 core formula. So combining both of them, you might like it, you might dislike it. It doesn't matter, because as we said, when I talk to people, I say, okay, you don't need to like it, or you don't need to dislike it. You are not my target audience if you don't like it. I'm my target audience, very specific. If one person like it, that's the way forward. I think I lost Heather. Probably she will join again. So if one person they really like my ideas, that's the way forward. And if they don't, when I present this to many people and none of them liked this, okay, that is not my target audience. But I will not stop until I redefine my targets, I redefine my goals, I redefine my framework, and then target again. So that's the way forward. Heather, you just
yeah, don't know what happened there.
Yeah, it sometimes it happens. So as I was talking to the audiences, that okay, doesn't matter what is your current situation right now. If you wanted to grow, you have to, as I said, you have to follow a framework. And if you think that okay, you are not the person to following framework, you can succeed. I have doubt about that, because without a analyzing your problems, analyzing your faults, and you cannot grow. And a framework can give you that frame, that okay, this is the framework, and you analyze your problems, you analyze your what you cannot do well, and how you can train yourself to be better. Or maybe you don't know that you have a characteristics that is better than anything else. So without a framework, you cannot do that. So if you wanted to grow, you need to have a framework. So here is Heather, and I'm Dr. Shah Siddiqui. We can support you, and our next, we're just going to be planning after this program how we can bring a 2 hours session, including some research participants, to talk about the framework and implement the framework live to the audience. And Heather, we are just nearly end of the sessions, and we just got 2 minutes. I just wanted to add the closing remarks. Takeaways first, and then the closing remarks. What is the takeaway from today's session?
I think what the thing that you were just saying about some people kind of going on this framework, don't want to be following that, etc. And just coming back to another food analogy, because I'm hungry now, is that if you want to make an iced Victoria sponge cake, for example, you kind of need to have the right ingredients. You need to have a bit of a methodology, and you need to know, you need to combine those, do that, let it cool, etc., etc. Whether you follow it religiously or however it ends up looking, but so long as you've got that, so just think of that recipe and the ingredients list as a framework. It's a framework for making a Victoria sponge cake. And you can, and if you've got it there, and if you've got the framework, so if you can use the framework to analyze where you are, I mean, we're surrounded by them. If you have a framework to kind of understand where you are, that's where I want to go to. Here's some steps that I can take, and these will help me get there more quickly, because they've given me an order to do them, and they've given me some things I need to do along the way. Because make sure you don't forget things. And I think it's just like, doesn't have to call it as something as structured as a framework. It's just giving you a way to get from A to B that hopefully will help you get there a little bit faster, because somebody else has kind of done the hard work in terms of the order and the things you need to tick off. So it's just like, just relax with it, enjoy it.
Thank you, Heather. It was my pleasure to talking to you today. And thank you to the audience. I will say bye-bye and stay on the line. I'll just take a couple of just few seconds to say bye-bye to the audience. So thank you very much to all of you who have enjoyed today's webinar. Is MARSTA Framework and Zen Z12 Core Formula. If you wanted to be a research participant for our next 2 hours segments, feel free to DM me or Heather. we're going to be going through with our framework, and you will understand how it can support you or grow your business or grow your personal growth. Heather framework is more into personal and business together, and my framework is more into business and business growth, marketing, and so on. So please feel free to join our next webinar. We will let you know when we're going to be having that one. But next week, we will come again next Tuesday, 12 to 1 p.m. And we will see you with another guest. And until then, I wanted to say you bye-bye and stay tuned and support our work and let people know about us. We need your support. As I said, without support, we are nowhere. So see you all next week, and bye-bye.